What I have now, I appreciate it so much. It's not what happened in the past. It's not what I don't have in the future, but what I have now.
Hey everyone, let's start healing. I'm Adrienne Murchison, and welcome to the 120th episode of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. Well, wow, there's a couple of things that I want to get to before I bring you my guest today, who is a pretty special person. One is that it is very striking to me. I think that we all know that we are in a very interesting place in our world right now. We're in a very delicate place, a very sensitive place with politics and wars, not one war, but two wars. And I could very well be mistaken, and there's even more wars going on. And it's a tragic time and a divisive time. And I'm not here to speak to anything specific. But what is powerful to me is that separate from what I'm saying, I am in a group, a motivational speaking group with about 150 people. And none of us know each other or knew each other before we started this 2-month program about a month ago. And everyone is from across the US, across the world. And people are sharing experiences. They're trying out different techniques. And everyone is just very loving and supportive. And we're all in the beginning strangers to each other. And it wasn't, nothing was said to my knowledge like, hey, show up this way. It's just what happened. And I think it's so incredible and would be so wonderful if we could be this way across the world, across our lives. We had this exercise about a week ago, and the exercise was I dream a world, and it was to speak off of the kind of world you dream. And everyone that I have seen is either speaking to personal pain or to the love and the commonalities that we would love to connect with throughout the world. And I'm like, it's so something that this group of strangers is coming up with these thoughts unplanned. And yet in the outside world, we have all this chaos and tragedy and violence going on. And I'm saying that because under all of our opinions is that love. There's that love. We all want to be loved. We all want to get along. Yes, there are some opportunists out there who shall not be named, but they are far and few in between, I think, when it comes to the collective. But we don't hear about the love in the world very often. It's the primary thing that we hear about is the hate in the world. And I think it's important that we see the news and understand the news. I just think that we should give place and hold a space for the love that so many of us feel. And it's not a select, it's not a few. It's a great number of us who have love in our hearts and just want to get from one day to another and be safe and have our family members be safe and just have loving connections and fun. Fun and fulfillment. Well, I'm going to transition from that to something that I want to share, that I wanted to pull something up. So there's this quote that I wrote down many years ago when I was watching this series, The Affair on Showtime. And one of the characters said, in a scene. Being alive is essentially a lonely proposition. Being alive is essentially a very lonely proposition. You have to mostly carry your pack alone. Nobody gets as much help as they need. And that just really, really struck me because it was just these two characters having a conversation. And then one of the characters says, being alive is a very lonely proposition. And you mostly have to carry your pack alone. And I know that I have felt that way sometimes. There was a time more than once on more than one phase of my life when I have felt very lonely, alone, isolated. And I think that in the dark of the night, a lot of us can feel that way sometimes. Sometimes we have a tendency to feel like no one understands. Have you ever felt like that? That what you're going through is unique to you. And so then that kind of adds to your loneliness and the aloneness that you feel. One of my motivations for this podcast, I've said before, is for anyone who feels like that in any moment to understand and know that they are not alone. It was heartening for me when I realized that some of the things that I experience, other people do too. I'll think, oh, I'm the only one that feels like this about this. And then I'll learn that somebody else has gone through this and they feel that. And I understand, well, I'm not an alien. I'm not an alien. I'm not alone. But the bigger thing is that God is with us. And it's so easy for us to forget that sometimes. I will speak for me and say that sometimes it can be easy for me to forget that during the course of the day if I'm going through some kind of serious agita about something. And everything that I know, it's like way over here. And I just forget. But all those times when I remember, and sometimes it is when I am in the deepest pain. I'm in the deepest pain. And I just am willing to reach out and to feel a connection to God. And that is when I feel a real communication with God. I'll feel like God is talking to me. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever had those moments when you literally tangibly feel God and you hear God talking to you in your thoughts? And that is where my guest comes in. His name is Tony McClendon, and he is such an interesting spirit, human being, man. Very, very interesting. And this is part one of our conversation. Tony is a massage therapist and a fitness expert, and he is 75 years old. And no, he does not look 75 years old. He's what 70, he's the new 75. 75 for him is the new 50. Am I saying that right? I don't know, but you get my point. You get my point. Well, I'm excited for you to meet him. He is going to talk about his connection to the Spirit of God in him through life experiences and his willingness to stay connected to God has led him into some miraculous events, some events that did not happen through his own doing. It was something outside of himself. So I'm looking forward to you hearing his story. And one of the things that has really come up for me about his story and his journey is that willingness to believe that something greater than us, God, our higher power, source, whatever you call that energy, is there and it's real. It is real. And that is where I choose to live. Now, I can come into my human ego self at any point in time, but I choose to live in my spirit self, because if I was just left to my own abilities walking through this world, oh no, it would not be good. Would not be pretty. It would not be pretty. So I want you to meet Tony and to hear his story, and hopefully you feel a connection to him. And this is part 1, and we will have part 2 coming to you very shortly. So let's meet him. Let's get started, and let's start healing. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so patient and being here with me.
My pleasure.
I had just asked you, and I'm going to ask you again. I asked you when we were offline if you are a healer or a seeker. I usually ask that question later on, but there's so much about you I want to dive into that is the first question.
And that's a very good question. I am understanding about myself, what I've been blessed with, and how to connect to what I've been blessed with to help bless me and other people. So I would say I have connected to the help that's in me that will help other people. And if it's healing, if it's understanding, if it's whatever that I can surrender to, where it can work through me, that someone can be helped by that.
Wow. So there's something in you. Now, somebody like me would call that God or the spirit of God that you're tapping into within yourself. Is that what you mean? Or
Okay. An example. 26, 27 years old, I consider myself a bad person. And experiencing that, where I had got to the lowest point in my life. I was on my way to prison. At that time, was not into God or whatever, anything. And I cried out, and I never forget it. I said, if you are real, and if you can help me get out of this, what I'm in now, I would try to see what you is all about. And that's my first experience of connecting with my inner, which I call my helper. And it spoke back to me. It said, that's all I've been waiting for.
that's the voice that you heard inside you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What were you on your way to prison for? Is that something you're willing to share?
It's a lot. I'd rather just keep that dormant.
Okay.
But the anxiety, the fear, the suicidal spirit that I had, it was like I got undressed, totally undressed. And a peace came over me like I never experienced before in my life. And I said to myself, what have I tapped into? What have I tapped into? And from that, I would say, moment at that particular time, it never been the same. It's been an unbelievable experience.
You are a massage therapist.
Yes.
You're a physical trainer. How soon after that did you get into massage therapy and wanting to heal people? Because you are a healer. That is one of the things that you are.
All right. At that particular time, I didn't have like a job. How can I say it? reference because I wasn't working at the time. And my girlfriend at the time, which became my wife, I told her that I'm going to have to find a job. And she said, well, don't worry about it. Go and do what you're going to do, and I'll take care of the rest. And which is what she did. So I'm searching for a job. And I've been into fitness practically all my life. So one of the places that I went to was the YMCA. And the guy was interviewing me, and the only job that was available at that time was a porter job, which they call a janitor. They called it a porter then. He was looking at my applications, and he noticed that I had been to college. He said, well, I don't think you might be qualified for this job. I started to tell him a lie because I needed the work. And my helper told me, tell him the truth. And I said, you're right. I said, if I find another job, I will take it. And then he asked me, he said, would you be interested in learning how to be a masseur? And I said, a what? And he said, somebody, massaging and this and that. We said, well, you'll be on an apprentice program for about a year. Then we can put you on regular salary. But while you're learning, we can only pay you $50 a week. And I almost broke down. From making thousands of dollars a week to $50 a week, my helper.
Your helper is that voice inside.
That voice inside said, take the job. And I did.
Isn't that amazing?
And I learned quickly because I wanted to get on regular salary. And from that, I stayed at the Y for a year as an apprentice. When I finished, they was finishing Western Peace Street Plaza Hotel. And my helper said, go and apply to the hotel. And I went and I applied. I asked the guy, I said, are y'all hiring a masseur? He said, oh yes, we're gonna, we state-of-the-art facility. They got the revolving swimming pool, the steam, and they was the only one in the downtown area that had that type of facility.
Was this like the late 1970s?
Yes, right at 71, 72. I said, I'll check back with you and see if y'all, is going to hire me. And the YMCA was about 5 minutes from the hotel. So I would get off and go over and check from time to time. And this one particular time, he said, look here, let me tell you something. He said, the reason that I'm not going to hire you is because I don't know how our white clientele might perceive you. And I say, well, the majority of the clientele that I have now is white at the Y. So I don't think it would be a problem with that. He said, well, this hotel...
They might have an issue.
Might have an issue with that, okay? Usually, when someone tells you something like that, you get very angry. What they talking about, okay? My helper, my inside voice told me, say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just keep coming back. And I did. And this one particular time I went back, he said, I got to hire you. I said, okay. And I went in.
Did he say why? Was it your persistence or he had?
He just said, I got to hire you. So I started there. Okay, they was paying me salary and commission. And at the Y, they basically taught what they considered like a rub down. Okay, they'll tell you do this, do that, And I said to myself, I can't make any money like this.
Yeah.
I said, I got to come with something a little bit better than what I was doing at the Y. My helper told me, say, do the best that you can do. And I connected to doing the best that I can do. And from that, I had a booked up schedule every day. And it was very successful. I did all types of entertainers. I had an offer to travel with Earth, Wind, and Fire. I had an offer to travel with Leonard Skinner Band. It was successful. And it was basically connecting to trying to do the best job I can do. And that took me to whatever I needed to be successful, at my job.
you started helping people is more than, they want to feel relaxed. You started helping people with healing their bodies in some ways.
Well, trying to do the best that I can do is a healer within itself. I consider, connecting to that type of energy, it let people know that I was trying to help. And this one guy, oh, wow. He asked me a question. He said, "Is this a religious massage?" I said, "A what?" He caught me off guard. I said, "I wonder why this man asking me, is this a religious massage?" I said, "It's just a regular massage." And I somewhat got a little convicted about it, but I didn't really understand it fully.
Meaning you were annoyed by it? Or what do you mean when you say convicted? Or you agreed? Or
I knew that it was a spiritual thing, but I didn't really understand the spiritual part of it at that particular time. Okay?
Yes. Since we were chit-chatting before we started recording, and what I've been wanting to ask you is, what have you learned about the body in your work? I know it's not one thing, but...
Okay, what I learned about the body is that the body is constantly healing itself. I had a back operation about 2 years ago. I stopped running track and field at 65 years old, competitively.
And you're 70?
I'm 75.
Unreal.
I am about to reverse it to 35. I have the secret, and it's all about connection. It's what you connect to. If you connect to youth, if you connect to health, and when I went through my back issues, I was almost incapacitated.
How old were you then?
I'm 75. I was 73, and I was in denial. I said, "Oh, my back is not this bad. It's just something," because I have had all types of injuries throughout my athletic career and got over all of them. And but this was getting real bad. I got to the point where I can barely walk, but I never agreed to it. I never accepted it. Now, I'm an average golfer, okay? And for me to be on the golf course where I couldn't swing a club anymore, it was like, that was bad.
Right.
So I convinced myself, well, no, I take that back. My helper told me, say, you need to see about this. So I called a doctor, and they got me right in. They took x-rays, and the doctor showed me the x-rays, and he said, "Man, you got a bad back. Man, you got a back." I said, "What is this man talking about? I got a bad back." Because all my issues was coming from my waistline all the way down to my feet, okay? Like it was electricity. I said, "My back is all right. It's from my butt on down. What are you talking about?" Oh, man, they just trying to get insurance money. I took all type of treatments, and it didn't work. And the orthopedic surgeon was a young guy. Didn't look like a doctor. Tight pants, tattoos on both. I said, "What this guy about?" So, and I'm asking him. I'm saying, "Look here, doc. This operation is going to take care of the pain all in my lower extremities and everything." And he said, "You're going to feel 77% better." That's all he would tell me. So after they took the MRI, I was still somewhat in denial. And this particular time, they called me and say, "We need you to come in and see the orthopedic surgeon." So I went in, and we went over the MRI. And he was showing me what an open and a closed disc look like. Open, you can see the white. The closed, you can see the black. And my helpers, get this done.
You want it to be closed, or you want it to
be
open?
Well, in other words, the disc that was good, you can see the white in it.
Okay.
Okay. The disc that was bad,
you can see the black in it.
You can see the black in it. So my helper said, "Get this done." I said, "Okay." I said, "Hey, doc, let's get this." Okay, I'm ready. And I went in that morning. It was a day surgery, 2.5 hours. I went in that morning. And when I came out that evening, it was like I could run a marathon. Oh my goodness. It was like I could run a marathon. The pain was completely gone. It erased it from my mind. I couldn't remember how the pain felt, or how it was. And I was 177% better. It basically, really changed my life to the point where what I have now, I appreciate it so much. It's not what happened in the past. It's not what I don't have in the future, but what I have now.
Because when you had that back pain a couple of years ago, did you think that your mobility was just going to be completely halted? And now you appreciate how you're pain-free now and you do still have your mobility?
Yes. And also at that particular time, it gave me an appreciation of what health really is. Because I would see people walking, they're walking good, they standing straight. I said, do they know how blessed they are to be walking like that and to be standing straight? And from that transition to where I am at now, it's an appreciation like unbelievable. I do not have a worry in the world.
You look like you don't have a worry. Yeah, you're right. Just what you're saying, my nephew and I talk about this a lot. He's 41. Okay. I'm much older than he is. But we talk about just the aging process and what we see and what we appreciate. And I feel at my age, I'm grateful to feel good and to be able to do most of what I want to do in terms of fitness and everything. But I also believe, I have to maintain this because this could change on a dime. Because I've seen people who maybe don't keep up a physical routine. Not that it has to be strenuous, but just seems like from one moment to the next, they're not in great shape. Do you find that, or what do you think about that?
I think that a lot of people are in bad shape because of a phrase. And that phrase is, no pain, no gain. That mentally have put people in a place where they believe that if you don't have any pain, you are not going to get any gain. I think that's one of the biggest lies that was ever told.
That's true on so many levels.
On so many levels. Say, I can't go through that. I can't go through all that, hard workout and vigorous workout, which they can't. They can't go through that. I have a client. He's 93 years old. At 70, I think by 80. With his exercise machine, he have a bench press which is about 250 pounds. And I said, I'm going to teach you how to bench that 250. Oh, Tony, what you talking about? I can't do that at this 80 years old. I said, I'm going to teach you how to do it by technique, not by strength. Okay, all right, let's do it. Okay. I said, the only thing I want you to do is focus on your elbows. That's it. Open and close them. And that's going to push the weight up, and it's going to bring the weight back down. Don't focus on anything else. That energy when you open, it's going to give you strength. That energy going to come back where you can use that strength again. Okay? Mm-hmm. We started at 10 pounds. And I want you to do it till it get completely relaxed, where you don't even feel that you are doing it. He did that. I'm ready. Okay, he went to 20. Did that. I'm ready. And he kept going up and up and up until he got into a mindset. The only thing he was focused on, he wasn't focused on the weight, but just moving his elbows up and down. And we got to 250 pounds, and he did it 3 times. And I said, I'm going to ask you a personal question. Did it feel better than sex?
He said, what did he say?
He said, how did you know? Yes, the mind is so powerful. But when you learn how to use it, people ask me, they say that, you get a certain age, your body can't develop, your body can't build. I reduced all the fat off my body now. Now, I'm finna build muscle. And I'm, going to build it back to where I was 35 years old when I was bodybuilding. It's just what you connect to. Once you connect to it, you do not try to do the work. You let it do the work. And it is the power that everybody have within themselves. They got two tools that is very important: your imagination and your creativity.
Yeah.
Once you connect to it, then the imagination, you imagine how you want it to look. The creativity is, if you want it to be strong or whatever, then it will, give you whatever you command it to give you. When you give it to the universe and they say, oh, you only have 3 wishes. No. You got to have as many as you want. I'm going to use all of them.
Yeah. But, it has me thinking about something I think about sometimes. Is a friend of mine was training me years ago, and then we were doing like leg press. And whatever the weight was, I remember it would be like, it's too hard. I can't do it. I'm trying to push it and it's not going. And then he would say, yes, you can. You can do this. You can do it. And at some point, it was like something clicked. It would click in my brain or in my spirit. And then I would be able to push it.
Yes.
Before it was like,
yes, it's connection.
I couldn't do it.
When you connected to the negative, it gave you the negative. When you connect to the positive, it gives you the positive. Yeah. And I tell people when I'm training them, I said, once you connect to whatever body part that you're going to connect to, fall in love with it.
That is so true.
Now you have that connection, and it's like hitting bullseye every time. I mean, when you trying to hit that target and hit bullseye every time, it gives off certain chemicals in your body that give you a satisfaction. I am directly hitting my target. I got it. And it's a feeling of accomplishment. And it's just like anything else, once you connect to it and you get the satisfaction from it, then it's a love affair.
Yeah.
So if you see a guy, with a big chest and everything else is small, he done fell in love with his chest and neglected all the other parts of the body.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And you can say, oh, man, he got a thing going on with his chest. Yeah. But what about his legs or what about his arms? Right. Because he neglected that. And whatever part you wanted to connect to it, it's a satisfaction. I can be in the gym 3 and 4 and 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And it's to the point that the adrenaline that I have, put myself in that particular place where I can feel that I'm hitting my target every time. Mm-hmm. And it gives off this, I don't know what it is, dopamine or whatever the chemical might be, but it gives off that feeling of satisfaction.
Right.
And you just enjoy it. It's just an enjoyment.
Go back to the body healing itself. Does that relate to that, what you're saying? Or?
Oh, most definitely. It's to where if you got an issue going on, I have had clients that had cancer. They either take it 2 ways. Either they're going to fight it, either they're just going to give in to it. Okay? The ones that give in to it, that's it. The ones that fight it, story. This one friend of mine, golfing buddy, cancer, really bad, really bad. I mean, he had the death smell. You know what I mean? From a 190-pound guy to about 140 pounds. He went to the doctor. He come back to me and say, "Well, Tony, I just got back from the doctor, man. The doctor told me I had 6 months to live." He said, I told that doctor, I said, "Man, you're not God. You don't tell me how long I got to live." Okay? Mm-hmm. And he said, "Tony, I'm not going back to that doctor. Never." I said, okay. Named Tennessee. I said, "Okay, Tennessee." And his buddy asked me, he said, "Tony, could you give Tennessee a massage?" And I said, "Man, Tennessee might get on my table and die. I don't know." I said, "I don't know about that, And he said, "Yeah, Tony, help him out. I said, "Okay." I said, "Tennessee, if I give you a massage, Don't die on my table. That's all I'm going to tell you. Don't die on my table. We'll say it in a joking way, but then I was serious also because he was in bad shape.
Right.
So I gave him a massage. Afterwards, his buddy come back to me and say, man, Tennessee, say, man, that massage felt good, man. He said it helped him out. Tony, could you give him another one? And I said, man, okay. And I told Tennessee, I said, Tennessee, I'm going to tell you again. Don't die on my table now. I won't, Tony, I won't. So he gave him sucker massage. But he come back to me and say, Tony, man, he said that really, really helped him out. I said, really? He said, could you give him one more? I say, Tennessee, I'm going to give you one more. I say, but if you down on my table, I'm going to hurt you. So he got the third massage, right? Then after that, forgot about it. His buddy come back to me and he said, man, you know Tennessee didn't get better until after that third massage. I said, man, you're right. He didn't. I mean, after that third massage, he got much, much better. Tennessee is living today now after 20 years.
Wow.
Yes. So sometimes you don't know how God gonna use you. You just don't know. You know, I didn't know that I was doing anything as far as, helping him with his cancer, anything like that. But then when I thought about it, I said, wow, I probably was used.
How did you grow up? Did you grow up in a particular faith or not connected to God at all? Thank you for joining us. Remember that you can listen to all of our podcasts on traditional platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Send me an email. Let me know what you think of the podcast, or follow me on Instagram at Let's Start Healing Podcast. My email address is letstarthealingpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, let's start healing.